In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to a place at the table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
Welcome. We are back at the table with a mixed menu. Of course, we'll be discussing the Edo elections, and I'll be telling it to you straight as always.
Straight talk is my kind of talk. I'll be speaking on redefining governance through simplicity, impact, and spotlighting Kwara State.
Very interesting, Bright, and I hope those who need to will be taking notes. I'm asking questions, or rather, the question, who is a Nigerian?
Is that a trick question, Kate? I wait to hear more. I'll be dropping some tips on dating. You didn't see that coming, did you? Welcome to the table show.
Thanks for having me, Zumah. I seem to have come at the right time. As they say, life goes on. I'll be challenging the status quo and saying tribalism is a construct.
Indeed, Seun, we continue to tell it like it is, and eventually, when there's no hiding place, we just have to face up to the truth. Edo election in a nutshell. On the 21st of September 2024, the people of Edo State went to the polls to choose who will govern their state for the next 4 years. Instead of election, it was bidding war for the votes of those who decided to come out and vote. Votes were sold to the highest bidders. As if that wasn't enough, overvoting in many polling units were also recorded. According to the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, overvoting was reported from more than 370 polling units across the 18 local government areas of the state by their various observers. They also criticized the collation process. My advocacy today is to the registered voters in Edo State, especially those of you who decided not to come out and vote. I say a big congratulations to you all, as your unused ballot papers were used by others to make a choice for you. If there was a huge physical turnout at the polling units, those buying votes would not have had enough money to buy everyone. And even those selling their votes might have had a twinge of conscience and shame, seeing those refusing to sell and also refuse to sell. There would also have not been enough unused ballot papers that can then be printed to show up numbers of votes by some parties. In fact, you all would have insisted that all unused ballot papers be cancelled at the polling unit and the exact votes counted and recorded, plus a follow-up at the collation center. Even violence is usually thwarted when there's a high turnout. It is much easier to beat up 20 people than it is to beat up 400 people. As it is right now, all of this is campaign after election for the people of Edo State. Their stomach infrastructure was more important to them than their future. Well, the policies of the person declared winner, good or bad, will meet everyone where they are and will not differentiate between those who bought or sold votes, nor those who came out or did not come out.
Did they choose their governor? That's my only question. They didn't.
No, to an extent they did. Those who sold.
Okay. So who sold the votes? It's the same people who said that they want good governance or they anticipate good governance. And as for INEC, adding numbers from the air to shore up numbers that are not even real. The numbers of registered voters and those who showed up are less. How do they blatantly come up with these numbers without recourse to anything? The Independent National Electoral Commission is a sham, is a scam, is a shame that they think that they are conducting elections, and we're talking about electoral reforms, and yet the body that is supposed to take care of all this is the one committing all the atrocities. It makes no sense. And as for Nigerians, they should choose who they want. If they like, they shouldn't choose. If you like, come out. If you like, don't come out. Nobody should be shouting online for help again. The help was on ground, and you could have done yourself the needful. That's all I have to say.
If I had hope for Nigeria after this election, that hope was just tarnished 100%.
Which of the elections?
The
Edo election.
Yeah. Because it's clear that the foundation of all of this is INEC, and INEC is controlled by the federal government somehow. And as long as the federal government or INEC still submits, INEC does not really operate as an entity
independent.
Entity on its own. Should remove that independence inside that because they really are not independent, right? It doesn't make any sense for a government that has worked to be voted out. I also feel because I wouldn't blame the people, right? Because the state of poverty in the country would prompt people to want to go for what they can get now.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel now, at this point, I feel like the state of poverty in the country is a strategy by the political class
It's always been a strategy.
Basically, I think it's intentional.
And then weaponize the poverty.
I think it's intentional with what's going on right now. Because at the end of the day, people will always look for what to eat today. I don't know about tomorrow. I know about right now. Do you understand what I mean? So that is an advantage that they have taken to say, okay, you know what? They are hungry. As long as we can give them money and give them this, then we can get their votes. And then look at the number of people that are uneducated within that space. They don't even understand the power that they have, when it comes to their votes. So how many people showed up and how many people did not show up? At the end of the day, as long as INEC, again, is still controlled by the federal, there is not going to be a free and fair election. Until we get to a point where an independent body, first of all, decide who the INEC chairman would be, and every other key staff of INEC, except we have that, we'll never have a free and fair election in Nigeria. That's my take.
Okay, I think votes are sold everywhere, all over the world. It is a currency that differs and the time of payment. Some are prepaid, some are postpaid, some are pay as you go. Because you as an intended electoral representative, you come to me, try to convince me, okay, vote for me, we will do this for you when we come into power. At a certain level, it is transactional. I would also like to talk about citizenship responsibility. A lot of us, we have expectations without being mindful of our roles as citizens and the things that are expected of us, which is largely the right to vote and be voted for. There is a huge gap in citizenship education, as a lot of people don't understand the consequences of them not coming out to vote. A lot needs more to be done. I like the fact that you highlighted it becomes more difficult to rig when everybody show up to vote and the power in numbers. It is important for everyone to show up to exercise their civil duty.
People are tired.
No, that's not an excuse. We cannot afford to be tired. We have to keep showing up.
But we can't say that's not an excuse.
Because the reality is, I understand that people are tired, but we cannot afford to be. We have to consistently keep showing up till we get the outcomes that we desire. And the issue of overvoting in 2024, why is this still something we are dealing with?
That's ironic for you.
It is uncalled. I mean, even if you want to rig, do it sensibly, like respect us. Do it with the numbers you have. This is not blatant disrespect.
Political participation by the people is almost impossible because the people cannot represent themselves. INEC is not controlled by any individual in government. INEC is controlled by interests, elitist interests. The most powerful set of elites in the country determine before we even go and vote who they win, and that is the same thing that reflects in American election, French election. The right-wing fascists were about to win the election. Suddenly, too, the left-wing galvanized. The rerun last one, they won. Even up to now, the French president has refused to acknowledge the left government because he doesn't want a socialist government to come after him. I mean, if this was happening in Africa, all sorts would have been said. Oh, Africans don't. No. The Americans stormed their capital after their elections and say this election is not free and fair. It has been rigged. They attacked their own government. If that happened after a Nigerian election, that president cannot sit down in peace. The whole world will say, oh, this is a stolen mandate, everybody will be there. But Americans, they can just brush it off with the, oh no, it's just crazy white people, it's just the crazy Trump supporters that are, so we as Africans, what we need not to be defeatist, lost hope, like you said. What we have to do is see how we can bring a new message to our people.
How do you do that?
By organizing political platforms that will speak the language that unites us. Not the divisive language that the established politicians use in their elections, because they don't understand responsibility, because they don't suffer consequences.
Well, at the end of the day, for Edo people, I will say, you make your bed, you lie in it. So make sure you make the bed well.
This is why it has to be all hands on deck, since the quality of our bed is affected by the quality of our leadership. Today, we're diving into an essential aspect of leadership that often goes unnoticed: leadership by example. Typically, Nigerian leaders make headlines for all the wrong reasons. But the governor of Kwara State, AbdulRahman AbdulRazaq, and his administration appears to be setting a different example. Leadership in Nigeria often comes with the trappings of power: convoys, entourage, and endless protocols. In this respect, AbdulRazaq stands out. I once saw him at an event in Lagos, blending with the crowd. I walked up to him and introduced myself. And on my way out, I saw him standing at the entrance, ordering Uber. People have spotted him at supermarket pushing his cart like you and I, and flying economy. Striking, right? What is even more impressive is that this isn't just about being humble. It's about how this behavior set the tone for his entire administration. By cutting down on unnecessary luxuries, his administration reduces the cost of governance, sending a message that leadership is about service, not status. Governor AbdulRazaq administration is leading the way in terms of representation. Women make up 50% of his cabinet, and 60% of his appointees are young people under 35. This style of leadership and governance is delivering positive outcome across multiple sectors in the state. I personally visited Kwara State on an invitation from the Commissioner of Works and saw the transformation happening on the ground. I visited the sugar factory, now transformed into a massive, fully equipped production studio. Kate, you should check it out.
I'm interested.
The Silicon Valley Standard Innovation Center and the garment factory, which has created thousands of jobs for women and youth across the state. These are not just infrastructure projects. They are lifelines for communities and a foundation for the future. I have chosen to spotlight the government of Kwara State, not just to illustrate that good functional leadership is possible in Nigeria, but to drive the point that leadership is about more than just policies. It's about action, transparency, and building a system that works for the people. I therefore offer this as a reference on the way forward: redefining leadership through simplicity and impact.
Leadership is also about empathy, capacity, character, and competence. So important. So
Yes,
apart
ma'am.
from ordering Uber, it's good to know that no, I'm not taking the piss. Apart from that, it's good to know that he's actually working.
Yeah.
Because leadership is service. But we have now...
Let me not be devil's advocate.
What?
Let me just play devil's advocate small.
Okay.
Uber is still very elitist in Nigeria.
Hi, come on. You
Seun
guys-
has come. Enough for you.
If he wants to show me better public transport,
But the thing is that
the
even the
majority
Uber,
of his workers are using.
No, now.
Do you take public
Even the
transport?
Prime Minister
Am I
in the
a
UK
governor?
or anywhere doesn't enter public transport.
If I was in charge,
Europe, though,
if I was in charge
Even
of
citizens that are using Uber now.
if
Uber
I
is like
was
the
in
easiest
No, but the thing
so is he representing only those citizens that use Uber?
well, Seun, let me finish. So it's good to hear some of the things he has put on ground. I'm
Yeah.
particularly interested about the Silicon Valley because that's right up
Yeah.
my street.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to visit it and see if it's really,
Amazing.
truly up to standard. But also more importantly, that it will get use usage out of there and bring in the much needed funds into the states.
Yeah.
No, you use Uber to go to that Silicon Valley place.
But absolutely
Imagine
remarkable.
David Cameron trying to do some in PR and then enters Uber in UK or Addison Lee to say that, oh, I'm with the common man.
No, but
and then he takes a picture in the Addison Lee.
But I have met David Cameron one-on-one.
In the train?
No, he was just walking around the mall.
But I mean, like transportation, they have to go inside subway. That's how they do their own.
No, but
PR.
well,
they
will
do.
go inside their public bus.
Yes.
Okay,
that's how you let people know that you are providing service.
So guys, but the key thing here is
I feel like he just doesn't want to pay all those convoy money.
No, but it also not in the state of outside.
which is cutting down the cost of governance.
No,
Okay.
Aisha asked
And
a
putting that
question.
money back into the
Yeah,
state.
that's the key thing. For
Yeah,
me.
we should be able to. This table, we've called out a lot of governors that are doing really bad job, and I feel like every time we talk about like politicians, we're always like, oh, they are doing that, but we actually are not. It now looks like everybody's doing the same thing. And this is somebody that doesn't even care about press, or he's not doing it because of the
I've
media.
given him kudos,
but the
and
thing
I'm happy
is, whenever we have somebody that is doing something, we should also
Spotlight.
share
Yeah,
the good news.
I agree.
You know, that's what this is
This kind
about.
of thing, like when President Jonathan did his campaign, like, I
Of
have
no
no
shoes.
You know?
Okay, sure, you need to stop. You need to stop.
Listen, guys,
You really need to
we
stop.
must be sure we're not mistaking pandering for actual performance. You know? Because I want to see governors do that. Yeah, fine. But it must transmute and translate
It is.
into something.
And I still like some of the things that he's doing in the States.
I agree with you,
Really
Sean.
amazing.
I mean, like in terms of, I want to see governors whose life expectancy index in their state is probably above the national average. And that's okay, you are doing something. The education literacy is above the national average. I'll say you are doing
But
something.
would you say that this is a step towards the right direction, at least?
In
Yeah, but it's not about
in
it.
behavior, yes. In behavior, yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, if I were show on that one.
if I were not a Kwaran, I would have said AA as engaged influencer, because this is like typical AA. You're doing typical AA fanboy. But yes, I'm a Kwaran, and I have.
Oh, you are?
Oh yes, I am a Kwaran, and I have have had first-hand experience of AbdulRahman's impact in Kwara State.
Good.
In the political circle, is known as Mr. Budget, because whatever you take to him is going to be like, okay, why are we doing this? Is this necessary? When he came on last administration, they sent him the bill list for Salah gifts, and then he was like, why are we giving people rams?
Wow.
Like, this is too much, we should monetize it. It caused a lot of uproar in the state, but then he is where he is.
Nice.
I don't want to come across as biased, but I am aligned with Bright on AA's impact in Kwara. Beyond that, it is not pandering for him. It is literally who he is.
Yeah.
Before he even came into government, I run into him at the airport multiple times. It's just him and his briefcase just going around. I mean, now that he's still the government, I run into him at random places. I act like I don't know him. He just mind his business, just going about.
No.
The only reason, the only way you will know that you are on the same flight with him is when we land in Ilorin, you see his security detail waiting for him. But in Lagos, in Abuja, he's just getting on the flight.
No way.
By himself. Nobody.
This
I've
is a
seen him
revelation.
more than 3 times.
I love it.
You know, outside that, he's doing a lot. The focus of his administration is education and agriculture, and he's doing a whole lot in that space. And then they are putting together an innovation hub in partnership with IHS towards. When this is done, it's going to be the largest innovation hub in the whole of West Africa.
I'm telling you, I literally went to the building.
And I like the fact that it is private sector led. You know, they are not taking the forefront. It's meant to be a sustainable, independent project that will impact the life of Kwarans and the populace as a whole.
Aisha, if you wanted to say something.
So the first thing for me that I look at is the fact that sometimes when we have access, it's a whole different. There's no government in Nigeria that will not invite you, 2 commissioners invite you to go to places you will not see some wonderful things. So it now depends on who are the people down there and what they're saying.
The people themselves.
And also when we're talking, and now you said something about the HDI, right? The Human Development Index. It's very important.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? The literacy level, all of that, you know, what's the other one part of those index about the health, life expectancy, and all of those things. These are some of the things that we really need to gauge when we are talking about governance. I can tell you that for a lot of governments that we have in Nigeria, big projects are usually conduit pipes. It's much easier to have big projects on ground that at the end of the day will not translate to what the common man indeed needs. What has it done in terms of, you know, policies that reshape, you know, things that affect the schools, public schools in Kwara State? Is it now more accessible for people who are poor to be able to have good quality education? Because you know, at the end of the day, for me, the greatest injustice we have in Nigeria is that access to good quality education is dependent on the economic status of one's family. So some of these things are things that we look at. I totally agree. Simplicity, you know, it's the way to go. It should, I mean, what we must always do, demystify office, and you say he's doing that, so that's great thing that he's doing out there.
Highlighting good practice and the ideal means that we can spot and win out counterfeits, right, Kate?
Man, Bright, I'm all for the original. I don't do counterfeits.
Jojo.
As our Independence Day comes up in a few days, I throw this question to all of you, my fellow panelists. Judging by the just concluded elections in Edo State, which Aisha has spoken about already, it is evident that our electoral process is far from perfect. Technology hasn't helped, as we see that it can and will be manipulated. That, however, is a conversation for another day. So here we are again, bracing up for another round of increase in electricity tariffs, as reported by a Punch newspaper headline on the 23rd of September. Even as purchasing power has crashed, people now have to make tough decisions between their needs and their wants. We live in terrible times in Nigeria, and not a few are certain of what the future holds anymore. A few tweets I've seen in recent times say that if they explain Nigeria to you, they explain Nigeria give you and you understand, then the explanation was not adequate. Who is a Nigerian? I believe before we can act Nigerian, we have to learn how to think Nigerian. No? Well, before we can truly make progress as a nation, we should first distinguish between a real Nigerian and a counterfeit one. A real Nigerian embodies a high dream and purpose. He or she has learned to evaluate her expectations and be on point at anticipating potential change opportunities around him or her. The real Nigerian understands that one of the challenges we face as a nation is usually ourselves. How bad do we really want this nation to be better? A real Nigerian uses her power of occupation to make positive progress, and I'm talking about the office of the citizen. A real Nigerian is committed to making a difference and shirks rhetoric, choosing rather to adopt Nike's slogan, I call it Nike, and just do it. The real Nigerian is a constitution junkie and is engaged in the national conversation because they know their rights. The real Nigerian is a game changer. Things are falling apart and the center cannot hold anymore. We cannot keep falling into this endless pit we have ostensibly dug for ourselves. Will the real Nigerians please stand up and be counted? Do I see any hands being lifted?
Not a real Nigerian.
Currently identifying as a real Nigerian.
And Zumah. Okay, you're talking about leadership. Seun, I'll go with you first.
Well, you know, the reason why people don't identify themselves as Nigerians really is because we've not really, as a nation, developed the Nigerian. We have a national orientation agency that should really do a lot of work in raising the consciousness of our people. Because I always say a nation cannot be greater than the consciousness of its people.
That's right.
Our collective consciousness level is the level of our national development. And also, national development cannot be divorced from national talent. Our educational system has warped us in the private sector thinking of individualism, you know, that what we have innately must benefit the individual that has it first.
And his family.
And some don't even let you reach family. Never see some kind daju red-eye people, shop a low, you go beg tire. But so we are raised not to think, we are raised not to see our talents as tied innately
to our nation.
National development. So a doctor is a doctor because he has to get a job and make money and buy his car and do this one. It's not because he's invested in the health of his nation. Lawyers are not invested in justice. Journalists are not invested in the truth. So we lack that cohesive.
Patriotism.
Not even patriotism is the next level.
Yeah.
But that cohesive vision, and people think it comes from the bottom up, but it comes from the top
Straight
down.
up.
Anyway, but these ethnic cultures are what we as Nigerians call Nigerian culture, but it's not really
culture.
because all these people have not come together from these different places, sharing a vision, that will create something that this is how, because culture basically means this is how we do things and pass it down,
Zumah.
So, Nigeria is a colonial geographical construct. It
I will
is
know.
not an identity. Nigerians only identify as Nigerians outside Nigeria. If you ask you where are you from or who are you, to say, they identify by their tribes locally. So we have a higher sense of tribal identity.
Yeah.
We don't even have a sense of national identity. And that's part of what the National Orientation Agency needs to do. We need to define who is a Nigerian. What are our values? What are the things that are important to us? How do you become a real Nigerian? I like the way you defined who a real Nigeria is. It's important for the NOA to take advantage of this advocacy and make it something that the average Nigerian can imbibe and aspire towards. Okay, I'm a real Nigerian. These are the things I need to do as a real Nigerian. These are my responsibilities to my nation. These are my responsibilities to my community. These are my expectations for my nation. It becomes easier when there is a clearer line for all the parties involved. And we all need to embrace a sense of national identity, as undefined as it may be.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that the real Nigerian was killed at birth. And there's no, that's why it doesn't exist. That's why, when I'm picking up.
What do you mean killed at birth?
So this is it. The first set of dictators that Nigerians came across were their parents, who didn't allow them to speak. So because when you ask questions, you were caned, you were called a stubborn child. Why should you ask questions? So how do you expect them to be the Nigerian that you had gone on to describe? And then after their parents, elders around them did the same thing to them. They went to school. They were also beaten for even critical thinking. I mean, if as a student you give something to your lecturer or your teacher that is out of what they had given you, you got beaten for it. So the real Nigeria had been killed. The real Nigerian was killed when access to, good quality education was not there for everyone. We talk about the 70s where people had opportunity to be educated, to get good quality education.
Yes, I got it.
But then now it's not there. People don't have it. So that real Nigerian is automatically killed at that particular level. We talk about poverty that has been weaponized, illiteracy that has been weaponized, religion that has been weaponized. So as you go on every day, the real Nigerian, is being killed. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, Nigerians are angry. On
Tuesdays,
Friday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, they are very angry and they're ready to change, to do things and all that. On Friday and Sunday, they get their cool aid. And that's
church,
they are told, the mosque and the church, they tell them, okay, no, everything,
Calm
God will
down,
settle
God
everything.
will do it.
And whatever.
Yeah.
Saturday is time they have to have fun.
For
Mondays, it's when they feel, okay, they're all buoyed up, things
Then
can
the
work, and then the cycle
on.
continues again, on Tuesday. So we have a lot of things that people are facing. The religion has been weaponized. It's being used against the people. It's being used to hold down the people. Politicians are doing the same thing. Traditional rulers are doing the same thing. The economy, everything. So there's no real Nigerian anywhere. People are just struggling. What people are looking at is how to survive the day. If I can go out, get food for my family, for my children, that's all. That's your advocacy. That's your thinking. You can't think about reading, thinking of so many things when you have children who are at home, who are crying and they've not fed.
It's
and
about
so
survival.
a whole lot of things. Yes, life is short, nasty, and brutish. So we can't think about whether there's Nigeria or there's no Nigeria. All people are thinking about how do I ensure I don't go into the hole, the 6 feet hole today, alongside with my family and children.
Bright.
I think you guys have literally hit all the points. Starting with you said something about
Starting with who?
Seun, yes.
He has a name. Is it that you forgot
Bright
his
is
name now?
angry with me. That's
Are you in Nigeria Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
passive aggression.
No. Something really
Passive aggression.
So the thing is, it begins with scarcity. As long as there's scarcity, people are always going to fend for themselves first, right? I want to. My entire life, I've had this perspective that I'm Nigerian first. When people ask me where you're from, I'm telling you real stuff. When people ask me where you're from, even interviews, I'll tell them I'm Nigerian. No. Where are you from? I'm Nigerian. Yes. Okay. Where? I'm like, are you asking where my father is from? I can tell you that. I can tell you where my mom is from, but I'm Nigerian, right? And that's the mentality that I have. And so everything I do, every project, everything I design is collectively. It's how can we move forward? So as much as there's a lot of people who are within the space of, okay, I'm trying to survive, there's still a lot of people who are doing amazing things. You're representing Nigeria. Everybody on this table. Everybody on this table.
And like his father who represented Nigeria. Peep my tea, people. Peep my tea.
There's always going to be.
No dry arm when you wash out. No dry arm outside.
There's always going to be.
Use wash drying machine inside house.
Okay.
There's always going to.
They go tea.
We're talking about drying machine right now.
Sorry.
Oh my God! Can you just let me bring up my thoughts? Before you just sound slow. I think you sound slow now.
Right.
I'm my thoughts.
We are saving you. I even helping you.
Okay. But you see, the Bible says something, right? We are the salt of the earth. Salt, you don't need too much of salt in this.
Just a little bit.
Just a little. But that little has so much impact. So I want to use this opportunity to encourage every single person out there that is doing what they can to support us as a collective. And we hope and we pray that someday our leaders that have more power and are in a better position to create that impact will be able to see things from a different perspective. Because at the end of the day, I said something one time to somebody, I'm like, see, all of us in this, the next 50 years, we won't be here.
Yeah.
Lazarus was resurrected from death. He still died.
50 years?
50 years.
After death, 50 years.
50 years. I'll be 91.
I'll still be here now. What are you
doing? I see I'm 9 years.
Point is, at the end of the day.
I won't be here with you guys.
At the end of the day.
I'll eat your rice.
No,
I don't know everybody is rushing to die too. I'm here as long
Please
as
let's
possible.
Bright finish.
Sorry,
before you say
my bro.
At the end of the day, what matters is empathy, is care, is how we're able to share, what we have with everybody else. And if the people in position are able to see that, then Nigeria will be a better place, and everybody can represent.
The days of remote citizenship are over. We're all in the field, we're all on ground, whether we like it or not, so no more comfort zones.
No more comfort zone. I can identify Kate. Can you imagine getting back in the dating game after a long spell? Imagine stepping back into the dating world after a long-term committed relationship, only to find that the landscape has drastically changed. The once straightforward path to love has evolved into a series of loosely defined stages that blur the lines between commitment and casual connection. What used to be clear now feels uncertain, filled with gray areas, ambiguity, and an over-sexualization of every interaction. Suddenly, you are introduced to new terminologies like talking stage, situationships, friend with benefits, and ethical non-monogamy. And you're still wondering, what am I doing here? And start considering going back to convince your ex to let till death do us part, be the defining conclusion. But dating after a committed relationship doesn't have to feel like entering a maze of unclear intentions and fleeting connections. It can be an exciting and enriching time, a chance for self-renewal, growth, and intentional exploration. You can navigate the journey better by understanding that the process has changed, but you don't have to. By defining your dating objectives, are you seeking a long-term partnership, short-term enjoyment, or casual companionship?
Sure.
By communicating these objectives clearly and setting boundaries which are intended to ensure you don't get caught in the cycle of ambiguity that defines much of modern dating. By resisting the pressure of over-sexualization, if you value emotional depth, long-lasting relationships are built on mutual understanding, emotional intimacy, and shared values. And most importantly, by being patient with the process. Intentional dating isn't about quantity, but quality. You don't need to settle. Wait for a connection that aligns with your emotional well-being. The process may have changed, but the essence of dating, building meaningful, fulfilling relationships, remains the same. By approaching dating with clarity of purpose, communication, and staying true to your values, you can create connections that bring joy and contribute to your personal growth.
Wait for me, baby, plan with me. Do people wait and plan together? You will see marriage of 6 months. Yakpa. You will see situationships and what's the first one you mentioned?
No, talking stage.
Talking stage. It has turned to a quarrel. You know, there'll be violence involved from the beginning.
For 2 years.
I think it depends on the individual. Well, someone did whisper and say, some men, when they meet you, they've already decided in the first 5 minutes whether you are for sexual or for long term or short term. I think women also need to put their protective cap on and talk. If the guy no agree, let everybody part amicably. And yes, dating back then, in my time, is totally different now. I don't know what's happening out there. I'm secluding myself to my zone.
To participate.
Hey, I don't know this
ethical non-monogamy.
It's a lot of bull crap for me. So I stay clear. I stay on my zone. I'm in a friendship with my friends, and that's okay by me.
I love it.
Damn.
Friends with benefits.
With my friends.
Friendship with my friends.
What is it with?
There's no, I didn't say benefits.
I'm
Put words in my mouth.
Clarity.
I said friendship with my friends. I didn't say friends with benefits.
You can't have friendship with your enemies.
With your friends?
Yes, with my
All your
friends.
And so it's asking, is it with or without?
Yeah,
So it's
there's no
without.
benefit.
If it's with
Benefit is silence.
If it's not
What's
friends,
the benefit you're asking?
I don't know. People say it. I don't know.
You don't know. You're friends with benefit.
I've only done all those things they're talking about maybe 2 times in my life.
I played the Fifth
What are we
Amendment.
talking about?
Whatever these benefits I might be thinking it is, I've done it twice.
You can have the fraud now.
I've done it twice.
No, so yeah.
Me, I don't have dating advice or anything.
Okay, yeah, I'm fully
Because
married.
relationships, me, I believe they're all like fingerprints, so unique to the people inside. You know,
Like
they all
very
have
individual.
They all have these tags that we give them, but you know, like people with the inside, now they inside.
Abi?
You know, so I don't really have what to say about
Right.
relationships.
Right. Because I remember I told people that you were available.
You know, so we need to
Look
come
at
back to
you can why you are just.
I'm just trying to see properly. I think dating has changed drastically, especially because of social media. There is the sense of optionality,
abundance.
right? So you meet a babe. I mean, as humans, we want multiple things. Our needs, our desire change over time. So I might like something today, and the next 5
You're
years.
talking about a man, right?
So fleeting.
You're actually talking about a
I'm talking
man.
about everybody.
But women are like
human
that too
being.
now.
I'm not like
I'm talking about
that.
human
But
beings.
you are just one person.
You're just one person.
I'm not
talking
like
about
that
human
too.
beings.
You are 2.
Oh, now you are saying that.
Anyways, so this optionality is creating that sense of, oh, maybe there's something better out there. So you're in the relationship, and then maybe some tiny things are not working, and you're like, nah, there's something better out there.
Where is commitment? Where is commitment? Where is commitment?
Yeah,
Sense of building.
I feel like my advice, not like I'm qualified to be giving advice.
As a single
but-
Pringle.
Are you dating?
You should leave this is my personal life. This is TV.
Bright is
put my
single,
personal life
by
on
the way,
TV.
just in
I
case
did not say
anybody
that.
wants to know.
I did not say that.
I thought you said
But
that.
like,
I'm not
don't
saying that.
put me in trouble.
Please do not put me in trouble.
I cannot say something. I'm
Say you're single. Let me go back.
Let me go back. So I think, like I said, I'm not qualified to give advice, but this is just, normal human instinct. I feel like once you identify some key important things that you need in the partner, very, very not the flimsy, oh, she has to have this, or she has to have, or he has to have this. The most important thing that you need to build a family. And when you find those things in the person, stay with the person, because trust me, that guy or that girl on your DM that's DMing you and giving you hope that, see, if you leave that guy, come and meet me.
Some people
trust
are
me,
married
they also have those kind of situations. I also feel
a ghetto.
Yeah, I also feel like, women have turned dating sites now to restaurant, what do you call it?
What do you mean women have?
But it's most, especially in Africa, they go on dating sites because at the end of the day,
So there are no men on dating sites?
No, but that's what I'm saying. If you go on a dating site in Africa, the culture, if I'm taking you out, I'm the one paying. I'm not the one paying. I'm paying everything.
You're a traditional Nigerian man, but go on.
Many of these,
In Africa,
most of these
gender.
I don't agree with it.
So when you go out with a man, do you pay?
Oh yes.
You pay.
that's cake.
Oh
That's
yes.
cake Henshaw, bro.
100%.
That's cake.
It's
You
not
think
there was
that's
a
your
time.
bill?
I'm
No,
sorry.
it's cake.
No, hold on.
Right.
There was a time they brought the bill and they gave it to the guy. I'm like, the waiter. I said, why
Madam
do you
Kate,
automatically think that it's the guy that will pay?
Exactly. So you just said it.
Right,
That's
look
exactly
here.
what's going on in
Right,
society.
look here.
We
I'll pay.
have to pay.
Look here, what do you think this is?
It's Kate Henshaw. Legend.
She will buy you food.
I'll pay.
She will
What's
buy
that?
you.
Don't even look at me sideways like that.
I'm not looking at
Yeah?
you.
Do you know?
Yeah, hey, I'm up for it. Senior woman.
We're generalizing right now. The culture in Africa, most times, the men get to pay.
But
So
right.
girls go on dating sites, they swipe, and there's dinner.
Right, let me tell you.
And basically,
This
there's
is
no
what I'm
connection.
saying.
Just
That
drop that food.
this gender
I blame poverty.
It's an
I'm
economic
saying that's
war
happening though.
that we are
That's real.
fighting in the world. This gender
I
war.
just said nothing.
Even if you look
I'm
online,
not
I said to my
arbitrary.
friends, like this whole
I'm waiting for them to be
DNA, men,
done.
women, oh, you have to do DNA, all these things. I said, it's economics. It has nothing to do with integrity, trust, love. It's economics. Oh, I'm the one with something to lose. Rich women that I met, because they are, I'll use my taboo word again, they are all capitalists. Love for them is tied exclusively to ownership. Without owning something, they cannot find value in it. You know? So it is men that have money, they behave that way. Women that have money too,
They
behave
behave
the same way.
I agree with you.
Let me come back to the question. I don't know whether I'm in the position to give
Yeah,
any
'cause-
advice. I've been out of the dating world since, I think now 26 years.
Damn.
Yep, so almost 27 years. But then, one thing that I knew, I didn't follow what society told me about dating. And that's what it's all about. The first thing people should do is date themselves. A lot of people are in a hurry to meet other people that will give them whatever, happiness, whatever. No,
Completeness.
it's you. You need to get to a place where you're loving yourself, you're okay with yourself, you're comfortable with yourself. Any other person coming should be
an
adding
addition.
to it. If it's not adding to it, show them the
Show
way.
them the door.
It's as simple as ABCD.
Simple.
You must get to
Come
that
and give me
place
headache.
where you're not just
Look on
sitting down and saying that, oh, you're waiting for someone, you know, to do something for you. And so you're able to choose and not bothered about what the
What they have to
society,
offer.
no,
Yeah.
what they're offering, what the society is saying, or what it is that it is not saying. And I feel that a lot of times women have been put in a position where they're sort of like passive participants in a relationship that they should be active participants. Why are you waiting for a man to come and be the one to date you?
I don't
Why are you waiting
understand.
for him to come and be the one to ask you
society,
out?
take
If you
ownership.
like
You're
somebody,
saying
you
you're
like
cheap.
someone, go
You're
up
saying
there.
you're cheap.
If you are cheap, fine. Is it not their mouth they use? They
That's
didn't borrow
not
my
your
mouth
market
to
if you
use
think you are
it.
cheap.
Because even for example, I always use I've never been in a relationship where someone I had to be a passive, you know, recipient. You came to me. No, I've always been the chaser. If I want something, I go for it. Don't say no, it's no.
Energy.
That's fine. You know,
Energy.
yeah, where we did.
What you talking about?
And for women also, especially if you like to be a look turn side.
I want something, I go
And
get
for
it.
women
He was
also,
looking like
I see.
he was gone somewhere for a minute.
For a minute, let
I
our
go get
discussion
it.
here. Come back, welcome
Come back,
welcome.
right here.
I'm listening.
And for women also, just to say, like that thing you talked about, Bright is actually right. We live in a society where women or girls have been brought up to think that it's the man that's supposed to have money. That you're even told to pray for your husband, look for a rich man and all of that. That has to stop. I have a boy and a girl. And for me, what I said to the boy, nobody was born with pots and pan to come to this world and be cooking for you. And for the girl, nobody was born with a checkbook to come here and take care of your bills. So everybody has to, you know,
Make their own way in the world.
Make their own way in the world.
Yes.
And so that has also been
Yes.
something that has affected a lot of people. And for me, I would just say for those who are dating also, widen the horizon, especially for women. Why do you have to date someone who is older than you? If you've been in a 20-something years relationship, like my husband is 62 years, he's 62, he's 12 years older than I am. And we have an amazing, beautiful relationship. If there's something happen, why would I date an older man? I'm going to go for a small boy. Yes, now.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, be a cool guy. So,
You know.
where's my
There's
camera?
nothing wrong with
I did not see that coming.
Don't wait and say that, oh, you limit yourself in the... Because
your
the men
age.
are
Are you
limiting-
planning for
the
allergies demise already?
If
No,
I'm not planning,
not planning.
anybody
You're already planning a cougar. You already have cougar intention.
Absolutely. There
I'm just saying,
I thought you were
Allah is still here
absolutely.
now. No, this is not about law. I'm just fighting for Allah.
So you see the thing there?
You at least know somebody in this party.
That's the thing about the relationship with my husband. These are things we sit down and we discuss.
You see? So
I'm
I'm
like,
like, tell him anything.
At least Alhaji knows your record.
No, we all discuss it. I want women. I want women to understand that don't limit yourself to that. Oh, it has to be, because
I don't
I've
care
seen
what
women
anybody says.
who have had relationship or someone who is the ideal person
But because
for them.
of age.
But because of age,
Yes.
they will say no. They can have spoken. I'm like, why do you
Like a
bother
girl.
about the
Don't
age?
care.
The
It
best
as long as the
advice.
person is not under 18, it's not a child. If it's a child, no, that's a no.
Yeah.
It boils down to being intentional and staying true to our values.
Yeah, I like it. If only we were intentional about our relationship with our country, Nigeria. As Nigerians, our identity, our cultures and talents are not for self-enrichment, but to develop our nation. And this is where we drop the ball and fail, not just ourselves, but our unborn children. A lot of Nigerians are locked out of the benefits of nationhood because we are bound by social, religious, and other constructs. No wonder leaders can play the game of divide and conquer with one hand tied behind their backs. Tribalism isn't meant to divide us, but to unite us. I once used the analogy that Nigeria is like a train going off the cliff. All of us can see clearly that the train is going off the cliff. So busy arguing about the driver rather than uniting to prefer solutions for the common good. My brother must drive the train. This is my sister's turn to drive the train. Nobody is talking about stopping this train. What happened to strength in diversity? We argue about separating and forming separate nations. Biafra, Yoruba nation, Arewa, Hausa nation. We put the cart before the horse. Why aren't we first discussing how to feed the people? We should be celebrating independence, but we are bound by constructs that don't work for us. Until the systems are made to serve and invest in us as people, these things will continue to get worse. Tribalism can only be useful to the extent that it puts investment for the common good first. China is an example of a nation that speaks the language of enlightened self-interest for the good of the masses. The tribalism we practice is another form of selfishness. It doesn't lead us to be our brother's keeper. For those who breathe hatred and are ready to kill in the name of tribalism, can't you see that tribalism doesn't exist among the elites where money talks? It's time we woke up and smelt the zobo, organize ourselves outside of the elite and determine the sort of nation we want to have. The ball is in our court. Will tribalism tear us apart or contribute to the beautiful tapestry that is Nigeria?
Come on, last.
Yeah. I don't even know if there's anything to say, but I'll just say this. I wrote three things, and it was part of my advocacy. You know, it was like me talking about Nigeria and you talking about this. I had to edit it out. Strength in diversity. I mean, I don't know why we haven't recognized that we have strength in diversity. We have strength in our numbers, and also that, yes, tribalism does not exist when those people join together. All they do is use it. And it's stupid. You let them, these politicians, mess with your brain. But when they are sharing money, you see them, hey, high five each other after the election, and they are on opposing parties. So they'll still go and meet at the back. And you see it glaringly. But people still say, oh, Igbo, leave Lagos. Yoruba, go back to your home. Who is here? The northern man is key. Let him keep his tomatoes. I mean, it's crazy that we have not looked past what they are pushing into our brains. And till we have that, tribalism would always be a weapon used.
So for me, is to say, one of the questions I always ask people is, how are you sure you're the tribe that you say you are? Okay. Your parents can simply come up and wake up and say, you were adopted. So all that hatred you had for that tribe that you're hating, and they tell you your parents are actually from that tribe, what then? It's not really, what is even a tribe? What is it? It's where you're brought up. There was an incident that happened, I don't know whether you guys remember it, where some kids were kidnapped from Kano and taken to Anambra.
Really?
And then they were found. There was an Aisha, her name was changed to, I can't remember what the Igbo name is. They will see her before and after picture when she was found. There's no how you say that girl, she's northerner. She looked Igbo.
Really?
Because so it's not really, I mean, yes, it went viral. I think there were like 5 or 6 kids. And they had changed their names and everything. They had gone on. You see these kids, you know, looking so different, looking like the tribe that we think, that we say, oh, this tribe, but not this tribe. We're all human beings. At the end of the day, it all depends on where it is that you are. But one of the things that have been used a lot in Nigeria, you know, to cause this division in terms of is politics.
Of course.
Because you need numbers. At the end of the day, politics is all about number. So the more you're able to divide the people, the more you get some on your side. And so people deliberately...
more on your side.
Yeah, more on your side. So people deliberately use that tribalism and all of that. And then you come back to the issue of education. If we look at it, for me, as far as I'm concerned, the illiteracy in this country is deliberate. There are people who have deliberately sabotaged the educational system in this country so that they will be able to have people that they can control. I grew up in the north. Yes, in Kano, you literally see people telling you that, oh, if these children go to school, who are going to serve our children? So something is deliberate. People are kept down, and then they are not allowed to go this way. The strength and diversity that you talked about, we have that a lot. When people tell me that, oh, yes, we should focus on our differences, I'm like, please, can we focus on the things that unite us? We are united by poverty. If you go to any part in Nigeria, you feel at home. You will always literally say, you are in Edo State, you'll be thinking, I've seen this place in Ondo, I've seen this place in Kano, because they look similar. If you're flying in the air, other than Lagos, that you can see those yellow buses and easily know this, every other place, they look similar, without their red corrugated roofs. You come down, and I say to people, if you take away the language and the mode of dressing out, everywhere looks similar. So we're united by the poverty. We are united by the lack of good quality education for everyone. We are united by lack of electricity, 24/7 electricity. We are united by the unemployment. We are united by so many things. Why don't we focus on that and get this thing off?
You captured my thoughts, Aisha, but the only thing I would like to add to this is we need to be intentional about how we process interest. An average Nigerian process interest from the angle of, does this benefit me? Does this benefit my family? Does this benefit my tribe? Does this benefit my religion? Before thinking about, does this benefit the nation as a whole? So we need to be more intentional about this decision I'm making, this choice. Is it because it benefits the nation, or because it benefits me as an individual, or benefits my family, or the tribe? And like Seun said, tribalism is a tool of the elite.
Yes.
At the top, the lines are blurred. You can't even...
There's no line.
There is no line at all. So we, the less privileged, we need to be mindful and be intentional to also blur the lines. At the end of the day, the things that unite us are greater than the things that divide us.
At the end of the day, it boils down to structures. And I think, like you said, these structures were intentional. These things were put in place, you know, to make sure that we're divided. And when you divide the people, you are able to, you know, grab. It still boils down to scarcity, right? But this scarcity is also part of the strategy. Because when you are able to create scarcity, then that becomes a bedrock for you to be able to say, oh, the reason why you don't have, now because, say, this person, this
from the other place, don't collect.
And then you have that mentality, and then you drive on that, and then you're telling your kids, don't trust this person. Right? So, as Nigeria is such, I will always say that Nigerians are the real Israelites from the Bible. Like, we're naturally blessed. We just need little effort to become one of the greatest countries on earth. Literally, just little effort. We have amazing people. We have hardworking people. We adapt easily. Look at their increasing tariff, and we're like, if well, people will still line up. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we easily just adapt, and that's the government and the political class is taking advantage of that behavior.
Yes, they know this,
and they bumped up other countries. We just take it in our stride.
Take it because
okay, let's keep.
Because we are like that 5,000. That be 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Just they go round till they finish. Do you understand? Like that's Nigeria for you. It's a miracle. We are literally a walking miracle. I don't understand how people are still alive in this economy. But God just find a way to make it work for us. So I think the question now is, because the point of this whole conversation is to prefer solution. How do we solve this problem?
Back to Seun now.
Okay. Okay, we're perfect. I think
give us some ideas.
I think one of the things we have to do is look at how, look for examples within the ruling classes, both business and especially in the business side of things, where they run all these big multinational corporations with Nigerians from all walks of life. And yet, and Nigerians from all walks of life and all tribes. Yet their banks post record profits every year. All their businesses, their oil companies, everything are thriving, and it's these Nigerians that don't like themselves
that are working in the
that are
same
working
space.
in these companies. You know, and it is because in those spaces, the lies that are told in society about rugged individualism
Don't work.
is immediately checked at the door.
Yes.
There is no I in team. They, you know, respect your this, you know.
There is no
Emmy there,
I
though.
in team.
You know, yeah.
There's Emmy there. though.
I know, but yeah, this is the saying in the corporate world. There's no I in team.
What?
You know,
There's Emmy there.
the narrative of competition in society is changed to the narrative of cooperation within the corporations.
Collective success.
You know,
over
exactly,
individual success.
exactly. You know, so we must borrow from that book.
Yeah.
We have to find unity of purpose. If our elites begin to act in a united manner in terms of our national development, then we too will be able to see that. But in the absence of that, we the people must be the ones to inspire that, you know, for ourselves.
It's enough to go around.
So forward motion requires some strong head and the occasional kata-kata, none of which are in short supply at the table. Make it a date, same time next week. Till then, it's goodbye from all of us.
Love still.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Ubuntu.